Welcome back to Dave's Gone By. It's time to get a little cultural. This was in the New York Post last week. Attorney General Eliot Spitzer's office has demanded that local sports, theater, and arts venues stop charging fees on top of regular ticket prices. Legal action could be launched against those who don't comply. Spitzer's assistant, Elizabeth Block, wrote, quote, "Whether the fee is called a facilities fee, restoration fund charge, convenience charge, handling fee, or service fee, charging any additional fee, however denominated, is a violation of New York's Arts and Cultural Affairs law," unquote. The letters were sent to Madison Square Garden, Radio City, Lincoln Center, Carnegie Hall, Nassau Coliseum, the Jones Beach Theater, and to Broadway theaters. State law says you can't charge anything more than the established price of the ticket, otherwise you're scalping. But as anyone going to Broadway shows knows, on top of the $90 you're paying for 2 hours of entertainment, on top of the $5 they get you for using Ticketmaster or Telecharge, you're also tagged an extra $1 or more per ticket just for entering the building. Theater owners claim they need the money for maintenance and upgrading. Sure, they get rent from producers, but only when the venue is booked. A Broadway theater, which, let's face it, could make a lot more money on that land as an office building or a shopping center, a theater can sit for months unused, collecting nothing but dust. On the other hand, when a show is booked, theaters do get rent and the cut of the box office. So, judging by the tight seats, inadequate bathrooms, and general discomfort levels of a lot of Broadway houses, where's that extra money really going? The service charge didn't hit Broadway until Garth Drabinsky, desperately over budget on ragtime, realized he could make a little much-needed cash. Citing the fact that he just built the brand-new Ford Center for the Performing Arts, he tacked on a fee without actually making it part of the already high ticket cost. The late 90s revival of The Sound of Music at the Jujamson-owned Martin Beck Theater did it next, and then some of the Schubert theaters went for the fee, and finally the Nederlanders couldn't resist either. So, first of all, is this dishonest? Are they basically hijacking theatergoers who are committed to seeing a show at a certain high price, and then, at the last minute, saying, throw us an extra $1 or $2, what's an extra couple of quarters out of your pocket? The fee isn't hidden, per se. But it does feel like, for example, paying $100 to get into a safari park. You can bring in your car, but if you want to park it, you're charged another $6 or $7 to use the lot. And then, before they let you out, you're forced to tip the janitor $2 for cleaning up the elephant's peanut shells. I believe it's possible the restoration fee was initially conceived with a legitimate aim of putting it towards one thing, improving the condition of these landmark buildings. But whether that's been the follow-through, I don't know. And whether it's right to charge a toll to get that money, I really don't know. Helping me sort out my ambivalence on this is my guest by phone, Mr. Richmond Shepard. If that name sounds familiar, it's because he was a radio theater critic in New York for many years. He's also the co-publisher of Performing Arts Insider magazine, which you'll hear about in a little bit, but he's even done more than that. He's an actor, a director, a producer, and for a while he even owned a chain of theaters on the West Coast. So I think Richmond is uniquely qualified to comment on all this, because he's done theater from all different angles, most especially as producer and landlord. I want to thank Richmond for taking a few minutes to chat with me tonight. Hey, Rich.
How are you?
I am great. How are you doing?
Well, I'm fine. You know, my newest theatrical endeavor, of course, is my improv troupe, New York Talk, NOOYAWK, that performed at the Village Gate for 3 years, and people went on to stardom from it, and now we're getting ready to open soon.
Well, first of all, who went on to stardom from New York Talk?
Mark Kudish, who starred in several Broadway shows. Kim Sia, who starred in Smokey Joe's on Broadway and on the road. And, Deborah Wilson, who was a star of Mad TV and game shows, and all. They came out of the original New York Talk.
Now, when is your next one happening?
Oh, we're going to be starting to perform in a couple of weeks. We're just practicing doing improv.
Do you know the venue yet?
There's 3 of them. We're going to be at the Soho Playhouse briefly. We'll probably be in the Cutting Room. We might be at Ha. We're going to try a few of the comedy rooms, and then the next step will be to find a permanent venue like we did at the Village Gate, which no longer exists, of course.
Right. Well, good luck, certainly, on that.
And now, about this ticket stuff. It's interesting. What it really is, see, they can charge whatever they want. Broadway shows. For instance, when the producers opened, they were charging $90 a seat. When the reviews were as good as they were for the producers, they immediately raised the price to $100 a seat.
Right. But that was the actual basic charge of the ticket.
Yes. Now, what this is the equivalent of is stores charging $899 for something. You know, a television set for $399,
right? Rather
than saying $400. When you get to the tax, it's really much higher than that. It's this not saying we're charging you $91 1/4, which is what they're really doing, because the money does go into their pocket. Is saying, oh, you're getting your ticket for only $90. It's a mind screw. You know what I'm saying?
But not actually illegal or dishonest. It's just a way of spreading it around.
It's a way of pretending that they're charging less than they're charging, because the money, of course, goes to them.
So
it is a kind of dishonesty in a way.
And you keep using the broad term "they."
Yeah.
Remember that this extra charge.
The producers set the price.
But they don't. That's the thing. The producers don't get a cut of this fee.
But the other way around. See, in many of the shows, the theater owners are co-producers, so they get it three ways. The theater owners will often, you'll see their name at the top on the playbill saying Nederlanders and Joe Smith and Helen Jones present, or Helen Jones, Jim Smith, and the Schuberts present. Well, that means that the theater owners are putting up the theater as an investment in the show. Now, the theater owner not only gets rent,
it's
extremely high, he also gets a percentage of the gross.
Right, well.
And to add on a surcharge, he's getting it from three places.
The theater owner, the theater owner is, but I guess if they're also the producer, they are.
Exactly.
They're not always the producer.
They are very often part of the package of producers if you look at the top of your playbill. Now, sometimes it's a straight rental, and the rent that the theater owner charges the producer is, I don't have the figures for Broadway. I have them for off-Broadway. And it can be anywhere from, for a mid-sized house, from $5,000 to $12,000 a week for these mid-sized off-Broadway houses.
Do they sometimes waive anything during rehearsals or during the previews, or they make a deal?
Every deal is separate. Yes, you can do any. If the guy has no customers, you can offer him whatever you can. Everything is negotiable. But to add on the surcharges is it's a lie in a way, because.
So do you think they should just raise the price?
If they're going to charge a certain price, let them charge the price. Let them raise. If they want to raise the rent a little bit, let them raise it. They're getting a percentage of the gate anyway. The theater owners.
Now you were theater. You own several theaters.
I built, owned, and operated 5 small theaters in Los Angeles on Santa Monica Boulevard in Hollywood, and it's now called Theater Row, because when I opened my theaters, half a dozen other theaters opened nearby. So it became a theater community there with common concerns, including parking and things like that. One of the major differences in theater in New York and Los Angeles is that in L.A., if you have a theater with more than a certain number of seats, you have to have one parking place for every 5 seats. Yeah,
but in L.A. it's spread out enough you can do that? Or?
Well, it depends on the neighborhood and where it is, but that's a concern you don't have if you open a theater in New York.
I see.
Well, one parking place for every 5 seats.
Were you equity?
It was called equity waiver. On theaters of 99 seats or less, equity waived its jurisdiction. This is so that actors could have showcases.
So it's sort of like off-Broadway.
Well, if you see some of the operations that there are, like the Tiffany Theater or the Odyssey Theater, which are big, beautiful 99-seat theaters with spacious lobbies and luxurious...
Wait, the Odyssey's only 99?
They got 3 theaters in there, 99 each.
Oh, okay.
And they are beautiful theaters, just like the Tiffany on the Sunset Strip. They can make deals with actors. In other words, they're not required by equity to pay them. My deal at my theaters was the actors got 50% of the profits to split among them.
And was there generally profit in a 99-cent theater? Was it
99-seat theater?
Yeah, that's not cents, 99-seat theater.
Well, let's say you're charging. Let's say you have a show running at the Tiffany. You're charging, let's say, $40 a seat.
Okay.
Okay, 100 seats times 40 is how much?
4,000, something like that.
Per performance times 8.
32,000
a week.
Okay, but minus everything.
Well,
here in New York, the everything kills you. You know.
I know the advertising is much cheaper in L.A. The production costs are much cheaper. Yes, you can make quite a bit of money in a 99-seat theater in L.A. But in L.A., it all depends on, similar to New York, the Review and the Times. But in L.A., to have a success in a smaller theater, you need to get not only a good review with a photograph in the L.A. Times, you also need to be picked as pick of the week by the critic.
Now,
and in New York...
you need the Times. You need the Times to just recognize you.
I produced a show, directed it also, about Lord Buckley a few years ago, starring Tom Kalanya, and we got a rave review in the Daily News from Howard Kissel with a photograph.
Uh-huh.
The kind of review, from the Daily News, it brought in 6 people. It's the same review in the Times would have brought in 6,000. It's theater is totally dependent on the review in the Times. And by the way, I don't know if you know that the cost of an ad in the New York Times
of what size
is absurd. For 1 inch, it's the show we just did. It was $559 per inch if you're less than 200 seats. And if you're more than 200 seats, it's $750, isn't it?
It is something like that. And you're getting a break because it's live theater. If it were another thing, it would be more.
No, not because it's live theater, because it's smaller live theater. The mid-sized houses have to pay something like $750 an inch, which we were talking last night about opening a show. There's a play by the guy, Terry, I can't remember his last name. He wrote Killer Joe, that Scott Glenn and Amanda Plummer
Tracy
did.
Letts, you mean?
Huh?
Tracy Letts.
Tracy Letts.
Yeah.
Tracy Letts, we did a reading last night of Bug.
Okay.
A play by Tracy Letts. And it's an amazing show. Very strange. Trailer people once again. And considering doing it.
But?
Well, it's probably going to be done, but we were talking about the cost of doing it, say, in a mid-sized house, in a 200-seat theater. The budget is $300,000. And then Scott Morphy, who's producer, said, maybe we'll do it in a storefront for $150,000.
But
and that's in a storefront theater, with 74 seats, which is the limit for being public assembly in New York. So I said, well, at least if you do it in a storefront theater for $150, if the reviews it costs you $50 till you open. If the reviews are terrible, you give back the other $100, and they've only lost 1/3 of their money. Because you need that $100,000 to advertise and publicize a show.
Yeah, I mean, it all gets so, even in New York or LA, it all gets so complicated with that.
It all depends on the advertising and publicity. I have produced for people showcases in New York at nice little theaters like the 29th Street Rep, or even at ATA, American Theater of Actors, on 54th Street.
Right. But
so anyway, adding that, you wanted to go back to the surcharge.
Well, yeah. Final comment on that.
Final comment is it's an advertising ploy. They are really raising the ticket price and pretending that they're not. I think they should either raise the ticket price or not. If they want to raise it to $92.50 instead of $90, use the money for whatever they want.
Cool.
The theater owners are getting their cut anyway.
Okay. Well, Richmond, thank you for...
Did I ramble on too much?
No, we're great. We're
the tape's running out.
Yeah, I have to take a break. So, thank you again for talking about all this. Best of luck on all the shows that you're doing, all your endeavors.